What is going on, everyone? Griffin here, coming at you with some Dahlia gameplay. Today we're going to be talking about the new LTM that was introduced in the update, along with the signature perks for each rogue. So let's head over and let's talk about it. So the new LTM was added into Rogue Company. This LTM is going to allow you access to a handful of rogues that also have these signature perks that are kind of baked into their kits as a way to kind of test how this experience is going to be overall. But let's talk about that for just 1 second. You're going to add an LTM mode into the game to test a new feature, a potential new feature for the game. This is perfect. This is 110% like, mwah. I couldn't have done it any better myself. You divvy it out to a handful of characters. You add a new LTM mode in there where the characters have access to those signature perks in this one game mode, just to gather feedback from the community, to see how the community feels about these changes, things like that. Here's where the screw up happens, because this isn't a high res game and this isn't a high res move if there isn't some weirdness that happens here. This is a rooftops only game mode that you're only playing King of the Hill. Okay, let's unpack that for 1 second. King of the Hill is not a main game mode in Rogue Company, right? King of the Hill is not a main game mode at all. You have to play quick play in order to get access to King of the Hill. And King of the Hill, I don't think I've ever played it on rooftops before. So how clueless are the developers here whenever you're going to be adding this thing into the game for people to test out, to gather feedback, and to see if it's something that you want to move forward with, how the community feels about it. But you're going to put it on a skirmish map first and foremost, right? You're going to put it on a skirmish map, and on top of putting it on a skirmish map, you're going to put it in a game mode that the player base does not have access to consistently. We have 2 ranked queues in the game now. We have Strikeout and we have Demolition. Why, in the love of all that is holy, would you put testing things on a game mode that you don't even have access to as a whole? That is not in a ranked queue, that is not in just a queue for King of the Hill. Why are you going to test it in that way? This makes absolutely zero sense, because the game modes play differently. The rogues that you pick for the game modes play differently based on who you're playing against and what game mode you are playing. How clueless are the developers over there for doing something like this? This makes zero logical sense whatsoever. Zero logical sense. Like I said, I think that adding things into the game in this manner and testing them and gathering community feedback is a fantastic idea. I don't want to take away from that at all. But just how clueless is the development team that they're adding it into a game mode that the community does not have permanent access to, first of all, and then second of all, on a map that I don't think I've ever played this game mode on. It's like for every good decision the developers make, they have to make a terrible decision in that same breath. It makes zero sense. Let's talk about the signature perks for a second. So the characters that are receiving the signature perks are going to be Glitch, Dima, Vivi, Fixer, and Scorch. So for Vivi, formerly Rhodey, one of her signature perks is going to allow her to take 20% less damage while sliding, and then her other signature perk is going to allow her stage presence, which is her primary ability, to grant a plus 10% fire rate to all the nearby allies that are affected by stage presence. For Dima, one of his signature perks is going to allow the explosives to knock back targets that are hit with explosives, and then his other signature perk is going to allow him to gain 1 additional shot of the MIRV launcher. For Glitch, one of his signature perks is deployables that are being hacked will now explode, and then for the other signature perk, it will drastically increase the range of intuition, which is his passive ability. For Scorch, one of her signature perks, whenever she deals fire damage, it allows her to restore ability cooldown. So whenever you pop the ability, well, I guess it would be active then, but like whenever you like punch someone with your fist, it does flame damage, whether you're charged up or not. Whenever you're hitting people with the incendiary, it does fire damage. It's going to knock some time off of the cooldown. for her ability, and then the other one is dealing fire damage heals her for 50% of the damage that is being dealt. And for Fixer, the first signature ability, while the thermal glasses are active, he's going to gain 1 additional ammo. This is going to feed directly into the tier, which we'll get into that here in just a second. For the second signature perk, damaging an enemy with armor deals additional flat damage. These are very interesting. I don't hate these at all, right? I think that, let's tackle them one at a time here. So Vivi, I don't know, the Rogue has just came out, and then they're going to add signature perks. I'm not even going to touch that one right now. Dima, whenever you hit someone with explosives, it knocks them back. That, it sucks. The reflector sucks already, right? The reflector sucks already. And then you're going to add functionality for another character to be able to knock people around in this manner. I don't think that that's going to feel good whatsoever whenever you're playing with and against something like that. Like, you want to hit someone with a frag grenade or your MIRV launcher, and you're going to have people that are going to be bounced all over the map. It's not going, like, if it doesn't down them and it bounces them all over the map, then it could potentially bounce them. Yeah, it could put them off the map. Yeah, of course. But you could also bounce them into another area of the map where your team's not at. They're going to have time to like regroup, gain their HP back. They're going to be able to re-engage. So like that is like, I don't see myself using that all that often. With the additional MIRV launcher shot, I think that could be very powerful. But also, if you know that going into it, and I'm looking at this from like a demolition kind of strikeout perspective, if you know that going into it, then you can try to counter that by using trophy systems, EMPs, hacks, things like that, and also buying characters with tenacity. So that one, it doesn't seem very, very OP. I mean, it could be to an extent. I just don't know what the lockout on something like that is going to be. So are you going to be able to like back-to-back MIRV launch? That's going to feel rough, especially in very confined areas, but we'll just kind of have to see how that plays out. For glitch, whenever you hack deployables, they're going to explode. I mean, it already does that with the Ronin knife. So if you EMP someone, or if you hack someone that is close to the Ronin knife, like, so if an enemy Ronin throws a Ronin knife, and then another enemy other than Ronin moves up to the Ronin knife and uses that piece of cover that the Ronin knife is on to try to do gunfights, you hack it, it downs that person anyway. So it's going to be like that, but it's going to be like amped up just a little bit. It'll apply to the barbed wire, to trip mines and things like that. So I think that it'll be beneficial sometimes, especially like in strikeout where you have a trench that's going to be throwing barbed wire around like crazy all over the point. Then you're going to have someone that's going to be actively fighting over the point, and then you hack it, then it could cause significant damage. But other than that, I don't really see that much of like an OP-ness to something like that. And then increasing the range of its passive ability. Cool. I mean, you're not learning any more information out of something like that. Like, yeah, you can see where the trip mines are and all that stuff, but you see them like far enough in advance where you don't run into them. So I guess it may allow you to see if someone's like trying to flank you or something. You don't really see a lot of characters that run trip mines or like deployables as flankers. So I don't really see how this is going to be very beneficial in the long run, but it is what it is. Scorch may be the one that is going to be gaining the most out of this. So dealing fire damage restores the ability cooldown for her primary ability. Like, Scorch needs to have her ability completely reworked, in my opinion. But I guess this is cool. I mean, whenever you are actively using the ability, is it going to shorten the cooldown of the ability into this idea of it being something that is going to be a never-ending ability? That's where my first question is. Second question, is it going to proc on anvil shields and any other deployables? So if you pop like a scorch hole, or if you throw an incendiary grenade in like onto something, right, like onto some type of deployable, and it does fire damage over time, tick damage, then is it going to be something that shortens the cooldown? I know that the fire doesn't damage those things, but it's still going to be like ticking, right? So that's going to be one of those weird things that we're going to have to see kind of how that goes. As far as like popping her ability, doing the extra damage, and then also gain healing, like HP out of it, that is going to be very, very interesting. I don't find myself using Scorch's ability all that often, but if you have the opportunity to gain HP back whenever you are using it, then that is something that should be interesting. And then also, whenever it's like dealing fire damage heals for 50% of damage dealt. Okay, so you throw incendiary does 10 damage, you gain 5 HP off of that, right? Okay, cool, whatever. You pop the ability, you're shooting someone with your weapon, and you see it does the initial bullet damage, and then it has like a 1 or 2 damage of fire associated with it. That's like a damage over time effect. So I'm assuming that the initial bullet hits that happen aren't going to give you any HP back, but whenever you have that residual fire tick damage, that is when you're going to get some HP back. So if the fire does 2 tick damage, then you're going to be gaining back 1 tick damage, like 1 tick damage's HP back to the character. That's not going to be broken at all, and it also makes it just not even worth it. It feels to me like the incendiary is the only thing that's going to proc and be very good off of something like that. Fixer, we talked about Fixer in an earlier video. Fixer is a very polarizing character. They need to take him out of the game and completely rework him. Having a signature perk that feeds primarily into the tier, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Like, here we go again with this useless bullshit where they're adding this stupid stuff in there that, like, weapon mastery exists. Weapon mastery 110% exists. He also has access to other weapons other than the sniper rifle. So if you're going to be giving him something that gives him 1 additional ammo, then okay, so I have a 3-round burst weapon in the Mamba, and I'm going to get 1 ammo whenever I pop it. Fucking awesome. Like, this doesn't make any sense. You're not going to be getting 3 ammo for it to gain an additional shot out of it. You're going to be gaining 1 ammo, which is not going to be able to net you anything at that point. So at the end of the day, it is what it is. Damaging an enemy with armor deals additional flat damage. I mean, that kind of feeds into the idea, if they are going to be changing his passive ability, it's going to feed into that pretty well. But is this going to be flat damage to the armor? Is this going to be flat damage to the HP? Is it going to be flat damage to both? Who knows? At this point, who knows? They try to keep these things as vague as humanly possible. I'm very interested to see how most of these work in execution. But at the end of the day, it's very interesting, to say the least. What do I think about signature perks? I like the idea of signature perks a ton. I think having the idea of having these unique things in the game overall, I think that having something that kind of defines the character that much more, since weapon mastery is a thing, and since there's so many other things that have been used to take away from the characters as opposed to given to the characters, I think that this is a great way to do it. I think that first pass, I would give it like a 4 out of 10. If I'm being completely honest. I mean, the glitch one, I mean, is okay. It's fine. I don't feel like it's going to be anything crazy. Same with Dima. Scorch, there's a lot of questions there. Fixer, it's very specific to the tier on one of them. The other one, we don't know much about, so I can't say for certain. So I'll probably revisit this idea of signature perks after I spend a lot of time with it. But as of right now, like, I like the idea of signature perks. I think that it's going to be interesting to see what signature perks they give to other rogues. But I think first pass for signature perks, I think it's fine. 4 out of 10, that's where I'm at with it. And how are you going to make an LTM to test stuff out on a skirmish map with a game mode that's just not even a consistent game mode in the game? Figure it out, developers. But be sure to let me know what you think in the comments down below. What are your thoughts on the signature perks? What are your thoughts on the idea of the LTM mode taking place on rooftops with King of the Hill and all that stuff? Be sure to let me know what you think in the comments. Also, be sure to check that description for links to Facebook, Discord, and Twitter. Those are the places to contact me. If you haven't already, please be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. If you've already subscribed to the channel, then consider hitting that join button to become one of the 256 crew members. Also, on Thursdays starting at 11 p.m. Central Time and Sundays starting at 10 a.m. Central Time, I will be streaming here on YouTube. So if you're interested and available, please feel free to stop by and say hello there. Thanks for watching, guys.